Hey there gardeners, Chris here from Steading. We're 2 years into creating my vegetable garden and we've come to a point where I've got to admit defeat with the existing way I'm doing things. And that's not the end of the world. It just means I'm going to have to pivot, and I think I'm going to need to drastically change how my garden beds are done and how I run them, and really one of kind of the core aspects of the garden beds. And I'm going to explain this to you so that hopefully if you're in a similar situation, you don't need to make 2 years of mistakes that I've made. So I don't know how well you can see it, but this bed here in front of me is looking very, very bare. I think the spring onions in it are really struggling. I actually heavily amended the soil, and within kind of a month, it was back to where it was before I amended it. And the simple reason for that is that we've got trees near our vegetable garden, and the tree roots have gotten into the garden beds, and they're now basically sucking the moisture and the nutrients out and competing with our vegetables. And as a result, the vegetables just aren't growing that well. And perhaps I should have foreseen this. I thought I'd be able to work around it. You know, I'm pretty heavily fertilizing, pretty heavily mulching or composting, particularly in the last couple of months, watering every day, and it's not enough. And that's a problem because it should be enough. I should be able to get a good result. And obviously the trees are causing a pretty significant issue here. That means I need to rethink my strategy. And the reason that I'm 2 years down the track and I'm realizing this is because I put cardboard in the base of all my beds, and that basically suppresses weeds and grass, which it did perfectly. The problem is once it breaks down, the seeds in the grass are gone, or the weeds in the grass are gone, but those tree roots start to come in, and once they're in there, even where I've heavily dug out a bed like this and put in huge amounts of compost, the roots are back and fully through the bed within a month or two. And that's not going to work for a vegetable garden. So it's not the end of the world, it's important to note that. It's just basically a pretty big stumbling block, because when we're talking about kind of the perennials like our rhubarb, these have only been in for probably 6 months, maybe 9 months. They're going really well. Our asparagus bed back there, that's been in a fair bit longer, maybe a year and a half with our crowns. Those, in my mind, were beds that were going to be permanent. There was nothing that was going to happen with them except I'd take really good care of them because they're very, very long-term plants. Most of the other stuff is the kind of annual veggies that you're more likely to work the beds. I like the idea of perennials, but the reality is if you're going to be self-sufficient, you're going to have a mix. And unfortunately, it does mean that probably while these are dormant, I don't know if it'll be this year, maybe it'll be next winter, I'll redo these beds. And I need to be super careful, because if I run a lining within my beds and even like a wicking system, the rhubarb and the asparagus are both plants that do not like to be overly wet. And so they're going to be a bit more of a challenge. Most of the other stuff, I can actually run that kind of system, and I reckon I can use like a Mel's Mix inspired soil mix, not quite the same, but pretty close, and end up with a really good result. Lots and lots of people online rave about that mix, and I'm having really good results in my totally self-contained IBCs, which will be what the garden beds will end up like. Now this bed here is actually going quite well, and I would say there's 2 reasons for it. Number one, this is one of the latest beds I put in. So this I think was the second last, and our pineapple bed was the last. And so they have the freshest soil. And I heavily amended this after we grew all of our pickling cucumbers in it. So it's still going quite well. And I think we've got our, what have we got in here? I think we've got brassicas at the moment, mainly, and obviously we've got some herbs, but I think we planted it out pretty heavily with the brassicas because it's a nice sunny spot. And also because this jack garden bed is quite deep, I think that's also meant that it's just taken a little bit longer for those roots to obviously get through the cardboard at the base of the bed, but also to really take over that soil. And so in the early stages, like certainly in the first year, maybe even year and a half if you're putting really good soil amendments in, I think you can work around those tree roots starting to become a problem. But you're going to get to a stage where you're putting so much effort in to get results where you should be able to put a lot less effort in and get much better results. And that is a genuine problem in gardening and probably in most avenues of life. So from the perspective of my asparagus, it's pretty devastating that I think we will probably need to really heavily, I guess, look at how we're gonna manage this bed. And unlike most of the other beds where my current plan is, I'm gonna run a pond liner, I'm gonna turn them into wicking beds, but I'm not gonna make them, because they're not very deep beds, I can't have this huge wicking medium. Essentially what I'm gonna probably do is they're gonna be a little bit more like a self-wicking pot. They're gonna have just maybe sand in the bottom, a layer of geotextile fabric, and then all soil. And there's gonna be drainage at that sand level so that they can't just end up swamped with water. And we're just gonna have to see if it works. With something like the asparagus, because it cannot be sitting in water or it'll just rot, I'll need to decide whether maybe instead we line the garden beds with geotextile fabric to try and keep the roots out. And that kind of solution, the thing you need to keep in mind is obviously the fabric can break down over time, which is a genuine concern. And that's a reason a lot of people don't like that kind of solution, or weed matting and stuff like that. But also you're gonna end up with a mat of your tree roots under the garden bed, under that, still trying to take a lot of that nutrients and that moisture, but hopefully in a much more limited manner. Hopefully. We'll have to see. And I did toy with the idea of, having a piece of wire at the base of the bed, which you just kind of pull across and chop all those roots off. And it sounds great, but then you've got to remember that especially the perennials are probably putting their roots down past the base of the garden bed as well. And so you're hurting them too if you did something like that. So definitely something to keep in mind. So I do feel a little bit vindicated with my potato beds, because the issue with the potato beds has been, with the more recent ones where I put a lot more effort in, is that while I can keep the top layer of the soil moist, down deeper where the potatoes are is kind of on the ground level, and that's where the tree roots are coming in and sucking all the moisture out. And the potatoes are just really, really struggling because of that competition. And obviously they are heavy feeders as well. And it's a bit of a fine line between rotting out the potatoes with too much moisture, which is what I did in my first attempt, and then having in my second attempt the issue where essentially the top of the bed was nice and moist, probably perfect for the potatoes, but down deeper it was bone dry, and nothing I did, except when we got one really heavy lot of rain where obviously it was hitting the ground behind the bed and running down under it just through absorption, nothing I could do could really solve that. So I reckon if we can kind of set these things up properly, we'll have much, much better results with some of the stuff we've really struggled with, which certainly from my perspective, I probably shouldn't have had so much issue growing. Now, the big question I think a lot of people are going to ask is basically, why don't you just chop your trees down? And now this is a macadamia tree, obviously planted by the previous owner, quite productive, Australian native. I absolutely love having this here. And when I put the beds in, I did actually chop through some of its roots essentially to get the beds in. And so I did know that there was those roots from this particular tree. I don't think it's responsible for all of my vegetable garden beds, but I think the reality is to actually clear this area in the way that would probably be recommended, I'd need to take out the macadamia, a really established tree. I'd have to take out the poinciana, which offers an enormous amount of shade and makes for a really beautiful area of the garden in summer, which really I would not be willing to do unless there was some, amazing reason to do it past a vegetable garden. The jacarandas I'm less attached to, they're an annoyance. The poinciana and the jacarandas both drop crap into the gutters, and they do make a lot of work for me at times, but at the same time they offer protection. They give us a nice kind of like green shell around the house, and they do offer a bit of sun protection as well. They make it much, much more pleasant, and I could go the approach of just clearing everything around the house, but at the same time we would need to go a long, long way to really get rid of everything. And in this closer section, I don't want to. I mean, like I said, I probably could, but for the sake of the vegetable garden where I could just slightly change the way I'm growing my vegetables, it seems a lot smarter for me to mould my approach to the environment rather than trying to force the environment to work the way I want it to. And, you know, there's always got to be a bit of give and take. Sometimes it's going to go one way, sometimes it's going to go the other. It may be that in the future we need to remove some trees on our property, whether that is stuff near the house that we're worried about falling over or just stuff for bushfire risks. I think that is a possible thing that we're really going to have to address in the future. But in the early stages, I don't just want to discriminately remove anything close to the house, particularly with this as the reasoning, because I definitely think there's other ways of getting your vegetable gardens growing. And again, maybe if I'd been smarter and a bit more on the ball and a little bit more forward thinking, instead of having these kind of on-ground garden beds, what I would have done is I'd just have had all self-wicking IBCs over here. Would have been a lot more work, probably would have cost a bit more money in the early stages, but it certainly would have been a possibility. However, at the same time, sometimes you just got to make the mistakes and work through them. Now you might be asking me and yourself, am I just being melodramatic? Me, not you. And how serious is this problem really? And to answer that, this was one of the garden beds I put a whole heap of compost in. So we bought bulk compost. We amended the soil really nicely. Obviously it did help our little Hardenbergia, which is an Australian native. They're pretty hardy, but the peppers in this bed, the curry plant, the parsley is not doing well at all. And certainly while the ground is holding some moisture, there's roots all through this soil here. Like you can just see there's roots all through it. And keeping in mind, I dug this up entirely a couple of months ago and added all this really good organic matter to make this a really great place to grow. And I'd say we're probably back to where we were before I did that, because those roots have just gotten all the way through. And what really gave it away was I planted beans along the back here, beans or peas, I can't remember. But, you know, a new set of seeds, I put them in and just nothing came up. And I was watering it daily and I was checking the soil and it was fairly moist. Obviously it did get a little dry. It's been a little hot on some days like today. And the breeze actually surprisingly dries things out as well. And those seeds did nothing. And I said to my wife, I think the seeds weren't good. I think maybe we just had an issue with the seeds and that's why nothing grew. And she went, nah, I just planted some in a seed tray and they've all come up. They're looking perfect. We'll be able to transplant those into our IBC garden beds. And it became very obvious we had a real problem here that is specific to the garden bed, but really all of the garden beds in this section of the garden. And I think, as just a little note, we'll go have a look at my Hugo culture taller garden beds, because I do need to mention that as well. So here we've got one of the deeper garden beds from Birdies. And I really like this design over those shorter ones because it's that perfect height for working in. And particularly if you're only going to put in a couple of beds, this makes a lot of sense. And in this one, I use that Hugo culture approach. So lots and lots of, not big logs, but decent sized logs, heaps of organic matter down the bottom, and really, like probably, maybe not 2/3 of the bed, but probably 60% or so of that bed is that Hugo culture approach with our soil on top, which is renowned as being a really good solution. Now, two issues here is obviously termites in the area are a real problem, and so them getting into the base of the bed nearer the home is a little bit of a concern, but I think the greater concern is that we've got gum trees all around us. And so again, those have a great potential to get their roots in under these beds and to suck the moisture out. And I have had great difficulty in keeping these garden beds moist. So I wouldn't be surprised, because everyone raves about the Hugo culture. I'm mispronouncing it because I just say Hugo culture, but it's like Hugo culture. I've heard rave reviews about it, but it doesn't seem to be working that well here. And a likely issue is that the gum trees, and maybe the poinciana, are just sucking the moisture out, getting their roots up in here. And again, we've got the same issue. And I mean, like, if we have a look, we're not getting the roots at this real surface level, but if you go down a little bit deeper, you start to encounter them. And maybe they're from my tamarillo or my blueberries, but I think it's quite likely they're from a tree. And again, I think this kind of bed would be even better as a self-wicking style bed, mainly because you've got so much more depth. And so again, you can have a nice deep wicking section right down the bottom, and then you can still have like 40 mils of proper soil, or even 50 mils. So this probably, again, would even be a smarter choice if you're going to try and maybe line them. Make sure you've got your drainage set up, make sure you've got your wicking set up really, really well. It's going to be a lot more work than just putting one of these beds in, even with the Hugo culture method, and filling the bottom with organics and then soil on top. A wicking bed is going to be way more work, but it just may be necessary in the location I'm at. And I'm not saying it's necessary for everyone. If you don't have any trees anywhere near you, my parents, where they are, they have a great veggie patch because there's really not a lot of stuff near it. And they've got lots of areas like that because they're on a more traditional farm, I think a cattle farm or ex-cattle farm, and maybe even a dairy farm. But, you know, they've got great soil. They don't have the worry about the trees being so close in every area. And as a result, it's like their growing experience compared to mine, totally different. And obviously different challenges, still plenty of challenges, but yeah, they really don't have to worry about the tree roots the same way I do.